For those that don't know me, my name is Milewski. I'm going to talk about actionable errors in Rails 6. Put your hand up. Sorry. Does it match?
This is next level.
Oh, shit. I was meant to start with a hoodie, right? Have you heard of actionable errors? No, neither have I. I'm going to set the bar really low. I have read the code of conduct, so I had to delete the 3 slides I had yesterday, but they're in Git, so you can have a look at them. Mostly because I think often we have this dream of like, hey, I'd love to do a talk. And then you kind of go down that path and go, nah, it's too hard. So I kind of had this like, hey, there's this thing in actionable areas. I could do this amazing talk. And then I went down this one path and it didn't lead anywhere. And then I went down this other path and didn't lead anywhere. So let's see where we ended up. So we're going to talk a little bit about things. The other thing is I often say, oh, that speaker didn't look at their slides or never practiced. I didn't practice. Let's see. I have no idea what's coming up next. The only thing I can do is do if I'm on the slide, I can do that. Yeah, cool. That's good. All right, so a little bit about me. Warning, I have a particular taste in technology. And, this is where some of these props come in. Let's have a look. Right, so we'll jump backwards and forwards. Who's heard of Google Latitude? Yeah, I was all in. My whole life was tracked on Google Latitude, and then Google said, not anymore. Google Buzz, right? This one, anyone know this logo? Like, who's got the T-shirt? Yeah, right? Google Buzz, that presumably means the next one is Google Wave. Woo, yeah. APIs Wave, where does that go? 404. What's next? Fusion tables. I actually had to look that one up. Maybe I'll get logos in here. No, I didn't have time. They're closing down December the 3rd of this year. Okay, so yeah, that's some things I've been interested in the past. JavaFX Script. Not JavaFX, not Java, JavaFX Script was a scripting language created in 2008. And it was going to change the way you do animations and things online. In fact, I found an image here. It's like, hey, on your phone, on your TV, on your computer, where you had Java ME Mobile Edition and Standard Edition, you'll now have JavaFX with all the interactive content. I got right into that. It was great. 2 years later, they just canned the whole thing and said JavaFX Script is no longer. Right, the Lollipop Tshirt. So I had these experiences where I kind of jumped into these technology things and they got to nothing. And then, has anyone seen the Lollipop Tshirt? It's kind of like a lollipop with Melbourne on it. So this is the iPhone Tech Talk World Tour 2008. Came to Melbourne. I was there. It's one of those technologies. Who's ever gonna write apps for your iPhone? So I dropped that one. But next time there was a phone thing, who's seen Firefox OS? Yeah, woo! Go Firefox OS. Yeah, no longer. So I got into that one. I missed the iPhone thing. This is where I'm like, what's the next slide? What's the next slide? All right, and then I did do a talk by myself. VI everywhere, and since I did that talk, I'm thinking, man, maybe VI everywhere is not a good idea. So I suppose I'm saying that some of my technology choices in my free time are not often ones that are popular. So let's see where we're going with actionable errors. So I went to RailsConf 2019 in Minneapolis, which was about a month ago right now. And there was a lot of talks. I met this guy there. He had some problems. He was about to do like a keynote or something. I told him best thing is to have a couple of beers beforehand to get the people to say whatever you're working on. Rails, I suppose, for him. He said, no, it's not going to work. He said, I don't drink beer. So that didn't work. But then I went to a lot of talks, but one that kind of made something kind of in the back of my mind think this could be amazing is Gennady here. And he was talking about, is it in his photo? No. Oh, right. Down here. Resolving errors with actionable errors, which we're going to have a look at today. So I thought, oh, I went to the talk. It's kind of interesting. But it got me thinking. And Gennady is a pretty good guy. So 2 weeks later, he was doing his Balkan Rails. He's from Eastern Europe, like myself. And that's some kind of like plum alcohol. That's the way they party. So I thought, yeah, this guy's sorted. Again, what's the next slide? Oh, yeah, right. So actionable errors. So then I started looking around for actionable errors, and I looked at the Rails guides, and here's the Ruby on Rails 6.0 release notes. Nothing on actionable errors. Nothing in what's new in 6.0. Nothing in the new features in Rails 6. Nothing in what's coming in Rails 6. I thought, oh, that two-parter. Not that it's ActiveRecord, but nothing in part 1 or part 2. Now we're getting into it like Rails 6 unnoticed features. No, not actionable errors yet. But when you get down to Rails 6 B-sides and rarities, and you go right down to the bottom of the page, there you have actionable errors, okay? And I suppose down here it says, now you can run migrations by clicking a button in a browser. And I thought, oh, button, like this is cool. I mean, I like buttons and I like buttons to do things. So I was at Le Wagon a couple of months ago, and I talked to, this is one of these bootcamp people, bootcamp intensives, and I was talking to some people who were there, and I said, oh, what's made you do this boot camp? They're actually from Germany. I kind of like went, wow, you guys came all the way here. And I said, yeah, we had 2 months free, and we wanted to learn, we were some kind of students, and we wanted to learn what coding was about. We didn't know if it was for us or not. And we had a look, and out of all the places we could go, it was Melbourne or Bali. We decided in Bali it was too intensive because it was 6 days a week. So we went to Melbourne to do 5 days a week, and then went for Bali for a 2-week holiday. And at the end of this, they kind of said, you know what, we're thinking this programming thing, it's like, it's a bit of nonsense. At the end of the day, you're just going to click a button and everything's going to happen. So that was kind of their takeaway, that they kind of understood what we all do, hopefully, but it wasn't for them. So I thought, well, what could you do with a button click? And a couple of weeks ago, we had the election, and we were all there sitting back, watching things go not necessarily our way, and Barnaby Joyce told us to put our caftans on and start smoking. No, not smoking. He was saying incense stick. Us caftan-wearing incense stick city folk have no idea what the country is up to. And I thought, well, it would be good to be in a caftan, but I watched the election. Fortunately, the next day there was much happier news, and we watched Kate Miller-Heidke flying up high. If anyone got up there at 5 in the morning, this is me with my family at 5 in the morning watching Eurovision. And Eurovision's kind of core thing was you dare to dream. And I started dreaming about like, hey, there's this button on a page that could do all this stuff. What could it do? These people told me that they've got this, that's their view of the future of programming. At which stage I met with Ryan Big, and he said, hey, Michael, we've got no talks for Ruby Meetup. So I thought, yeah, I could do something. So let's see what that something is. All right, so I have here in an iframe running Rails. This is where the live coding begins. This is good, right? This is, for anyone who has done a Rails new, you get this kind of standard page. It's all very, very cool. I'm going to go in here and I'm going to create a migration. So migration, for those that don't know, is the idea that my database is going to have some, well, require a migration to have some new tables or data structures in there. So I'm going to do a Rails generate migration, and the migration will create a row, and the row will have a talk, which will be of a type string, and a description, which will be of a type text. So this will create a migration. Cool. So if I do a git status, it will show me that there's only one thing as a db migrate, and if I cat that file, there's a mistake. Can anyone point out to the mistake? No? No? Come on, you guys. You're Rails developers. So I have a blank migration, right? I stuffed up. I have a blank migration with nothing. What I actually should have typed if I was reading my notes would have been, I want to, ooh, that was cool. VI on the command line, right? I want to create a row table, and that to have string and text and description. And I'm going to call that row1 just in case that other thing blows up. It shouldn't. Right, so I've got this thing, and now if I cat just all the things, it will show me that I have a pending migration there that says, hey, I want to create this table called rows with a string and text. And if you're on this project and you're over here and you go, hey, I've pulled the latest version and do a refresh, it's going to give you an error, right? It's going to give you this error, ActiveRecord pending migration error, because somebody has created a migration. Rails said, oh, your database is not up to date. So what do you do? Anybody? Hands up, hands up. What do you do at this point in time? Yeah? Right, so clearly you choose this thing down here, which is like a whole console. And in here you write ActiveRecord and then tasks and then database tasks and then .migrate. And that will actually run that migration, which will create the table in my database. And if I now refresh, whoa, I'm back to not having that error because it says my database is up to date. But clearly this is not what the talk's about. So if I create another migration, which is row2, and then I refresh this, I have the same error, and then we go, hey, there's this button up here, and it says run pending migrations. And when I press that, woo, presto, it runs the migration, right? So that was an error, and that was the action you can do on it. Like it was an actionable error. And I thought, yeah, well, imagine all the things it could do. So let's see what's next. Well, that's pizza smells good. Right, so you can do, you can do db migrate. Like you could have, whatever I typed was irrelevant, but you could have gone to the console and just done that, and it would have been good. And how does it work? Well, it works through action dispatch, actionable exception, which is some kind of middleware. And I thought if I can just dig in there, I could make any action that for any error that fails, create a button, and maybe that button could do amazing things, like do all the things that I wanted to do. And I tried and I gave up. It didn't work. But let's see what I did find out. Right, so any exception that includes active support actionable error and has an action block allows me to create a button that does stuff. So let's have a look. In here, if I refresh this, it will say, I have a boring posts controller. Can everyone read that? Yes, good. So if I go in here and find the posts controller, I go, oh yeah, it's pretty plain. It just renders a boring post controller. What if I render an error? So if I do raise some error, and that has to be defined, so I define a class in here called some error, and I then extend a standard error, and then I said I need to include active support actionable error, and because the pizza's here, we'll jump a few steps. In here, we're saying, well, at this point in time, what I said was if I have an error, and in there I have an action block, and that was like pizza, Michael. I can't even spell my name. I don't care about my name, John. Okay, and in here, like let's say I want to do something, so I want to just put, let's put some, some emoji characters times 10. Yeah, does that work? That looks Ruby-esque. So if I now refresh this, rather than just printing out text, it's going to say, "Ba-bow, you've got an error." But it also, because I have that action block, it says, hey, you've got this some error, which I defined. You have this, it's not a touch screen. You have Pizza Michael, right? Now, at this point in time, because there is an interactive component of this talk, I will bring up the log. And I want you to reach under your chair and find out if you have a Post-it note that gives you a special function. Everyone's like, please not me, please not me. No, if you've got one here, that's from a different talk. We have one. We have an A, B. I'm more in... right. So we have 3 and they've all been found. If I may, if that's good, stone and wood. Yeah? Yeah? 1 beer, please. All right, and we had A and B because, you know, A-B testing and maybe one of you will be sitting on one of the stairs. So number A, come over here. Number A is going to come over here. Sorry, your name is?
James.
James. Welcome to the stage. Have you ever been on this stage?
No, I haven't.
Yeah. Welcome, James. So James is going to come over here. Thank you. Your name was? Joel. How are you, Joel? This is great. Where do I work? 4 Pines. Oh. That's good. That's good. No. Whoa. That's good. So do you want to press pizza, Michael? Yeah. Boom! Right. That's pretty cool. All right. Well done. Thank you. That's pretty cool. So what it did is it still throws the error, right? But at least it printed our little ticks in there. So we know it did something. Let's go back here and let's like, what do we actually want to do in here? We probably want to put backticks in, right? Because that would just mean let's execute something from the shell. And then we want to do Rails generate scaffold, right? Let's just build the whole thing. Scaffold, and what we want to scaffold a post. So we want to post, and the post will have a text which will be a title. Title, which will be a string, and a text, which will be a text. And then let's do a force, right? Because we are actually in the post controller, so this is going to scaffold everything. Before I run this, if we go back here and do git status. So currently we can see we've got a couple of little changes, just minor. Let's just git add, git commit, row. Yeah, whatever. So now, just to show everybody that we have nothing that's not committed, we're going to run this again. So I will need to bring this thing in here. I'm going to refresh this to get the latest version of the controller. This is now going to execute that piece of code, whatever that is. And then we can say, oh, it executed, and now it says there's some pending migrations. And we kind of go, sure, why not? So we run the pending migrations. Oh, don't fail. Whoa! Yeah. So from having no changes, we now have, like, if I git add all the things, status, we have like 10, 15 files that were created by Rails to create this post controller. And not only that, but it works. Like, we've created a blog post. Hi there, create post. We've created a blog post, like a blog with one button, right? And that was kind of the dream. So let's go. What else can we do? Have pizza. Right, so I actually reached out to Gennady and I said, well, it's kind of cool. You can do, like, hey, migrate the database. What else can you do? And he said, well, actually, Action Mailbox and Active Storage has a PR in Rails 36071, which will basically bootstrap all of that. And I said, well, what is Action Mailbox? What is Active Storage? Let's have a look. So if you visit on a Rails 6 app, and in this case, his version of it, the Rails Conductor Action Mailbox inbound emails. Has anyone played with Action Mailbox? No. Wow. All right. So this is kind of cool because this led me down this whole path where neither had I, and I thought, what the hell is this? Whoops, we went too far. So in here, if I refresh that page, I went full screen. Right, so when I hit that page, it says, would you like to, you don't have this set up, would you like to install now? And I kind of go, yeah, of course I want to install now. What does this do? So what is Action Mailbox? So this is now waiting for localhost to do the whole install of whatever that is. Action Mailbox allows your Rails app to receive emails. So you can connect to various providers. I didn't get that far. You can connect to various providers, and when an email comes to one of those providers, it forwards it to your Action Mailbox, and your Action Mailbox says, hey, what do you want to do with this email? So clearly we have a blog, and clearly we want people to write emails and create blog posts via email. So if I now go in here, deliver new inbound email, all of this comes for free. It gets created as part of Action Mailbox. And the other thing is actually allows you to attach a file. So in here, I'm going to be interested in the subject. So we'll have row, and we'll say with a file, and we'll go and choose a file. I hope this is in the right folder. Yeah, cool. So we'll choose Mars. Okay, and now we'll deliver that inbound email, and we'll have a look at that, and it says, it bounced. Now, hang on, I've got to get it out of full screen mode. That's ridiculous. So in here, presumably in my posts, I still have that first post we created, which is row, hi there. But now I have this email sitting in my Action Mailbox that needs to do something. So what we do is open the side editor and find one of the things that got created, which is an application Mailbox. And this is somewhat similar to a route where you can route things. And in this case, I can go, hey, routing all the emails to a thing I've prepared earlier, which is a blog mailbox. Now, I could route here based on the content of the email, the sender of the email, some other things, the subject, etc. In this case, I'm just going to say anything that comes through here goes to blog. What is blog? Blog is a blog mailbox, which basically says create a post. And in fact, if I have an image attached, put that image in there. So if we go back here to this and say, well, this bounced last time. If I click it, it says, would you like to route again? And I say yes, and that should go through the route that I've created. And we go back here and it says, failed. That's cool. I go again, like, you know, it's going to work. Ah.
Did you save your change in application Mailbox?
Of course I did. This is where you get into the log, and this is where you don't do changes. So soon before you talk, insert in process, image undefined. Oh, right. Because we created a post, but the post doesn't have image. So the other thing is, back in the day, if you've set up Paperclip or one of these things, it's like kind of complicated. Whereas now I can just add in here has one attached, and we call it an image. And that together with the fact that the actionable error created some magic in the database and in storing things will allow me to have attachments. So if I go back here and we click on that message again and route again, we come back here and it says it's delivered, which then presumably means here, rather than having one, if I refresh the page, oh, let's make it bigger, right? If I refresh the page, I have lots of them, right? So they all got magically delivered because they are running on some kind of job, but like, where is the image? And then again, I kind of went in here and said, well, if I go into my index, is it an index ERB? And in here, I may want to just say that I'll have another field, which is image, and that other field is, and again, yes, I know pizza's here, so let's make this quick. So if a post has a image.attachment, because the first one doesn't, and I don't want it to blow up, attachment, then create an image tag, and in that image tag, get the post.post. Too many thresholds at the beginning, right? Image.attach. Yeah, where? Who? Oh, image is misspelt. Thank you. Image, post, image. No, I don't need that attachment. I just need a variant. Resize, to limit. And the limit, let's make it 300 by 300. And then if it's not an image, then just say no. And if I go back to here, just have a new column, and you say that's not an image, that's not an image, that is an image. Woo! And obviously, if that email got rerouted again, it's just magically going to work and create another blog post with another image. Cool. So to wrap up, actionable errors. If you add an action block to your controller's errors, it will only work, and you need the actionable errors mix-in. It will only work in development. It's usually like a one-shot, so as much as I tried to have a button that would open a widget and will let you do all the things, like what I wanted was if I went to /route, that doesn't exist. I wanted to have a button that would just create the thing for me. But that's not as easy as I thought. Also, Action Mailbox and Active Storage seem pretty cool and pretty easy to set up in Rails 6. And you can resolve your errors straight away. You can watch Gennadi's talk, which is now on YouTube from RailsConf. And then finally, I'd like to thank all of you. The slides for this are available on GitHub, failure-driven actionable errors. I sometimes blog on failuredriven.com, and I may write something about this, only because it's so little blogged about that I may just get some SEO juice. It'll be great. Thank you.
We have questions. Everybody's just like, no questions. Pizza. There are no questions, only Zool.
What was your favorite Eurovision act?
I actually spent about way too much time, 6 hours, after Sir Hat, who's like this old dude singing Na 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 or something like that. And he had this amazing animation in the background. And I thought, oh, I'll have the slides with this amazing animation. I thought I'd make the animation. I don't know, like, is Eurovision about your favorite or is it about your least favorite? Like, there was that couple, this boy, girl, that were like...
They were the worst.
They were so bad. Look, I liked Kate Miller-Heidke, but and you know, Zero Gravity. It's a meaningful song. It's about postnatal depression. She's a great singer. It was amazing the theatrics they did. So certainly probably one of my favourites. And then outside of that, at the moment, God, there was Iceland, which is kind of weird, but yeah, I don't know. We can talk about it later. Like, we'll go through. There's 26 of them, right?
Poland was robbed, by the way.
Oh, was it? Yeah. Well, Poland actually, so my daughter, I'm Polish. My daughter came up to me and said, Dad, I'm so proud that I'm Polish Australian. I said, well, you're Australian with Polish heritage. And he said, yep, Poland was the only country to give Australia full points, right? So well done, Poland.
My question is based on how frequently, if you like a technology, it immediately gets destroyed. How confident are you that actionable errors will continue to exist into the far future?
So I feel this may get televised at some stage, and Gennadi kind of like, hey, well done, Michael, go do a talk. So I don't know. I think certainly there's room for this to do something. Rails has got a lot of things though, so you know I don't know if it's going to really fall by the wayside or if it's just going to pick up. Certainly, if I was writing a gem and and said, hey, this is a Rails, so the use case really for me is if I have a Rails gem and I want you to use it, and you have to read the README, and there's more than one install, like generator install, then I kind of go, that's too much. But if there is one, then throw this in it so that if I use your gem and the first thing it does is like, hey, you're using Michael's gem, why don't you install it or do this? This is going to do some stuff. Then I would say definitely use it, right? So I think that, to me, that's the use case. You're creating a gem you want users to use. They put it in a gem file and immediately it throws up an error or they hit some route or some initial thing and say, right, to use this gem, you need to generate these things. Are you happy to do that now? Yes. So I think personally, for that case, and I'm hoping at some stage to use it that way, I certainly think that would be quite useful.
Anybody else?